Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Funky Country, where I encourage you to embrace your crafting imperfections. I am getting ready for the market this weekend. I'm a vendor at an indoor market, and I figured I would just bring you along with my journey that I have every night, basically. And that's either coming up with new things to do or finishing things that from the night before. So that's what I'm gonna start with tonight. I came on last night and I did a couple of projects and I want to finish up a couple. So just a typical night. I've flipped my phone, so I'm going like this, trying to figure out which way to go. So this was one of the ones I did last night, and it wasn't finished on the back. It was just the plain wood. And the more I kind of fiddled with it, I thought, you know what, it'd be better since it's a shelf sitter. It'd be really awesome because you don't know the way the person's going to place this, right? So if it could be on a tiered tray, there's a good possibility. Yeah, of course you're going to see it from the front, but what if you're walking around from the back of the tiered tray or from the side? What do you want the back to look like? And so as a seller and wanting people to purchase my things, I try to think like, what would be the best option? What would I like to have if I went into someone's store? It would be really cool to have the back finished. So this is what I did, is I took a stencil. It's from Magnolia Design Company. And it would fit perfectly on the back of these little houses. And so I'm going to put this stencil on the back of the three that I did in different colors that kind of sort of match the front. So this is a red for the watermelon. I'm just going to do one tonight in front of you just to show you how I use the stencil so that you can get familiar with it if you've never used a screen print kind of stencil before. And then I'll do the other one later because the stencil has to be washed in between, dried, that kind of stuff. So I have a stencil here. And I wanted to show you, so last night I did the bee and I used a stencil like this. See how it's got the holes in it? You can stick your finger through there. These are from Essential Stencils. This is the old style, very good. I still love these kind. I actually prefer these in some projects that I do as opposed to the mesh, like the one I did last night. And they're really easy to start off with. They're really easy to use, but they are completely and totally different style than the new style, which is more like a screen print. So I'll put that off to the side. Again, this is from Magnolia Design Company, and I got a sticky back to it. And where the openings are, it's mesh. So there's material there. And it's got these microscopic holes in that mesh. So when you put the paint across it, kind of like an old style screen print, when you put the paint across, the paint is going to seep through those microscopic holes and it's going to create your design. You can get extremely intricate lines with the mesh style. So I used from two different companies, a Maker Studio and Magnolia. I don't necessarily prefer one over the other. They both have great aspects to them, and I just happened to, pull this one out because it went with what I'm using and it's the right size. One day I will take a picture of where I store and how I store all of my stencils, and there's quite a bit. What I want to do though is I realized when I put it over this house, see these little like wings here? They don't fit, they go over the side. And so I almost didn't use it. I'm like, wait a minute, I'll just mask those off. So you can absolutely do that. If I wanted to just put Farm Sweet Farm, just the word on the back, I could mask everything off, leave that open, and just use that. So absolutely, it's just, you have to kind of proverbial think outside the box. But when you see something, look at your stencils in quadrants or pieces and say, I don't want the whole thing, I want a part of it. We'll just mask it off. It's super easy. So I'm going to lay this on here to where I'm going to center it as best I can. As I've already done the one, so I kind of know where to put it. And I'm going to press really, really hard. It's got this sticky back to it, so that's nice. You don't have to spray these like you would have to possibly with something like this. You may have to spray it so that it sticks really, really good for you. But I'm just going to press this down, and then I'm going to, well, I also wanted to mention too, see how it's got all the paint on it? That paint doesn't affect the stencil. So these stencils can be used 25, 30 times as if you take care of them. And one of the things about taking good care of them is to put them in water immediately. So I have a little tub of water here, and that's why I'm gonna just do one, and then I'll let it soak off the paint. I'll clean it, and then I'll dry it, and then I'll do the other one, because I have 3. So right now I'm gonna be doing the blueberries one, and I have from last night, I have the peaches, and I'm gonna be using a coral color with that. It's the Magnolia Design Coral. And then, so earlier I looked at the blueberries, I'm like, oh, I wanna put blue on here, right? So I grabbed a navy blue, stenciled it, and then wondered, what was I thinking? I didn't really think that through because you couldn't see it. So I had to paint over it. All right, so even the crafters that do things all the time, like have got hundreds and hundreds of projects under their belt, they still do dumb stuff like that. So now I have, which is probably my favorite color, is this beautiful teal. And that's gonna just pop gorgeous on the back of this black. All right, so again, I'm going to center this back here. And then just press down really hard. Take a little bit of masking tape. And I'm just going to mask off the bottom part of the banner. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with the sides here. Just 1 second. Because I went back and forth with how I was going to do this earlier. And then I'm like, oh, just make it easier on yourself, Cindy. So see how these 2 lines are right but up next to each other? And I was trying to mask off the line that goes out. And I was afraid that I was going to miss the line going, vertically. So I'm just going to include a little piece of that line. And then this is how it looks. You can see just a little tiny piece of the line. Sorry, I keep going. I don't know where I'm at. I'm backwards. A little piece of the line there just makes it look like it's part of the stencil. It's perfectly fine. But that's how I went around wanting to mask off, but not wanting to mask it off so close that I interfered with what I actually wanted it to print. So I'm just going to leave a tiny bit of that on and open. Just so it looks like it's meant to be there. Okay, so that's how I have it masked off, and you can see that I left just a tiny little piece open, and it's gonna look like it's meant to be there. Okay, pressing down one more time, opening up the chalk paste. With this stuff, you need to work somewhat quickly. Because it does dry fairly fast. Faster than acrylic, I think. And I always have something with me to get the paint off, because I inevitably get paint on my fingers and then go to touch something and then get it on that too. All right, so I am just going to take the little squeegee thing. This is actually from Chalk Couture. I like it because it's little and I'm going to little spaces here. So I'm just going to dip into the paste. I'm going to grab a good amount. I'm going to go backwards. I'm going to move a little bit. that you can see. And there. I'm just gonna lob it on. Because not making sure I don't get up there as I don't have that masked off. But you certainly can if you know you might overspread and move it around too much. So another thing about the screen print is you don't want to leave too much on there. So put it on and then squeegee it off. Pressing it in. And I will tell you, you may not get it perfect the very first time. I wasn't saying there's a learning curve to this, but there's definitely some do's and don'ts. Again, go to Dollar Tree, Dollar General, wherever you want to go, get some practice pieces, and work on those before, of course there's a fly in here, work on those before you actually do something like you want to give a gift to someone, right? Don't start for the very first time the night before you're going to someone's home and you want to give a hostess gift and you're trying something for the very first time. All right, so I'm just going to peel this off. Now what I did earlier also is I noticed that when I did the first one, when I pulled this off, a little bit of the black paint came with it. And so I thought, well, how do I kind of prevent that from happening? And goodness. All right. So I sprayed it with this spray to kind of seal it over the paint. So it would be a sealant on top of the paint. So when I stenciled it, the stencil would be on top of the sealant and not on top of the paint. It may be just the type of wood that it is. I don't know. But here I am, here I'm going to practice what I preach, right? So it didn't come out perfect. There is a little bit of blurry areas. So it's not stark. It's not perfect. And that's okay. All right? You could sand over it and make it rough looking and make it look like it's intentional. You could just leave it. I truly believe that we notice stuff in our own crafts that nobody else would ever notice. I'm looking at it in a particular way and I'm seeing it where it may have smudged. Somebody else may never notice that. And that's why I really want you to embrace those crafting imperfections, because you're probably the only one that's going to see it. And if you're giving it as a gift, they're probably not going to notice it. And if they do, they're going to love it anyway because it came from your hands. So don't be so hard on yourself. So there's that one. Isn't that color beautiful? I love that color against the black. Love, love, love. All right, so I'm going to do the other one later. But I just wanted to introduce you to a different type of stencil and how to do that. Hey Nadine, hey Christy. If you guys are I know you guys are just joining. I did a Magnolia design stencil. So last night I used this kind. Tonight I used a screen print. And it's soaking in the water right now because you have to do that once you've used it to get the paint off so it doesn't sit in that screen print, those little tiny microscopic holes. And so what I was showing everybody is that, so I did these last night, and because they're going to be in someone's tiered tray or a shelf sitter, when we ended last night, I looked at the back and it was just a plain wood. I hadn't even painted it. And so I was looking at it and thinking it would cost me literally nothing to put a little bit of paint on there, the stencil I already have, and then paint it. It may have cost me 3 cents to finish the back of these. And I thought that was really important, especially if I'm selling these, to be able to have a front and a back. And the person can switch it around. Maybe they want it that way for a while, you know? So that's what I like to think about that in my business. And I like to think about that as I'm giving gifts and that kind of stuff is, how can I make it multi-purposeful, and what would I want in something like that? So here's the other one. It's the watermelon, and I did red on the back. So those will go in my booth tomorrow. And that's what I think I'm going to do with this page, is just bring you into what I do nightly. Nightly is more often than not, very few nights do I take off where I'm not doing something in here to get ready for my booth. And so Things are going to be in different stages, but I will finish at least one project. So that project that I'm going to finish with you tonight is what's coming up next. So you may have seen this printable that I printed off today. Oh my God, isn't that cute? I found this by accident. I was searching for these stacked images of these stacked animals, and I came across this, and it's even got a bee on top. Oh my gosh, the bee. So I came across this Etsy store. It was $4, and I can reuse this as many times as I want. So that's the thing about printables. Generally, the people that I've come across say that I can't take this image and go sell this image. I can't go to my printer and print 50 of these and then go sell them. However, I can certainly put the printable on something and give it away as a whole thing. There's a fly. Give it away as a whole thing as many times as I want. I now own this $4 print. So that's pretty cool. What I have, let's see if my stack, I have another one. I don't. So this was a black piece of board that I purchased. It had some writing on it. I got it from probably Hobby Lobby. I had sanded it off, but because it's black, I knew that it wouldn't work with this. And so what I like to do on big pieces like this is I'm not going to waste my paint. I'm not going to waste paint that's really hard to find nowadays. And I use the Waverly quite a bit. So for this, and because I'm going to cover it, I use spray paint. And so I used this Rust-Oleum spray paint. I did it in 3 coats, and it turned out really, I'm going to cover it anyway. I just really wanted it, I needed the background to be white instead of the black so that it would work. And I didn't want to waste my money in paint that's really hard to find right now because the shelves are just not stocking it. This is what I use. It's Waverly. So this is what I use for my white. There's all kinds of chalk-like paint out there, whatever brand you want to use. So it's got little holes up on top, and I'm going to put something through there, not beads though. I didn't think beads would be applicable for this. All right. Tell me how you guys are doing. I actually have a little bit of music playing tonight. It was just so quiet. It was killing me last night standing here because I normally have it blaring. I have multiple speakers. I'm in my garage. I have multiple speakers. I've got it blaring in here when I'm crafting. I'm dancing. I'm doing all kinds of stuff. And to stand here and craft and not have the music going, it was driving me nuts last night. So I do have it on real low just so I can keep my sanity and hear something. I don't use fancy brushes, except if I'm painting furniture, then I do use really good brushes. But for stuff like this, I get a lot of my brushes from the Dollar Tree. I got this a few days ago. I think it was a pack of 3 for $1. Especially if I want to cover it. So I've got this. I go to Dollar Tree. That's where I get my plates from. Sometimes I'll just put the brush in there, but I don't want to do that tonight. So if you have any questions, then let me know. I'm going to put a very thin, let me get rid of this. I don't like having things around me that I'm not using. It just gets in my way. All right. I'm just going to put a very thin coat of the Mod Podge on here. I don't want it really thick. Again, trying to get those sides in first time around so I'm not having to go back. I'm going to use the same technique that I used last night where I put it on and then kind of inch it back. And I will finish this up to the point of putting the top coat on. So another thing I see a lot of crafters do, and there's reasons for it, I get it. But they'll do something like this. They'll paint, they'll get one of those, and I've got it, one of those, either a blow dryer or those really high heat things, and they'll sit there and they'll dry it. And that's fine. That's fine. That's just not my way, because I truly think that the products need to dry on their own. And especially because I'm selling them. I'm not going to just do a craft and put it on my shelf and just show you how to do something. I'm actually going to sell this. And so I need to make sure that it's done quality. And done quality is to allow the products to dry on their own. So I will do the bottom part tonight to show you how to do that. I'm going to embellish it, but then I won't put the top coat on. I'll show you how I'm going to embellish it. And then I won't put the top coat on until probably tomorrow morning, or at least later on tonight. Give it a chance to dry. All right, so, oop, get that out of there. I just think this is so cute. So I know, because I've already played around with it, I know that I'm not going to go all the way down. Oh, that doggone fly. I know that I need to stay, because I've got these holes up here that I need to remember not to cover up. So I'm going to try to center it. And we're going to hope for the best here. Get it centered, because once it's down, it's done. And I might use the brush tonight. Again, I don't have it very wet because it's paper, right? And a lot of people make the mistake, I see it all the time, when they're decoupaging, is they get the surface way too wet with the Mod Podge. And then they get the bubbles, they get the wrinkles, and then they get the tears. Right? Because they wonder why it didn't work out. I don't like the tears. Right? I don't like to have to redo stuff. So this is coming out, as far as I can tell, I am going off. See, yeah, that's not going to work. So it's sliding. And this is what happens. I'm going to have to wind up peeling it off. I'm going to go ahead and put it on so you guys can see, but it shifted on me. So I'm going to have to take it off and sand it. So let's just say it's not going in the shop tomorrow. I don't think. But that's how I would have done it. I was talking and I wasn't paying attention, and it shifted on me. But that's okay. So I'll show you what happened. Can you see? So that side's got a border, right? And that side, not so much. It happens. So had it worked out, it'd been okay. So just when you're doing it, don't talk and do this at the same time, or just pay attention, like I wasn't. So I'm just going to show you what I would do with this. So I also use Sola wood flowers. So this is how they come. This is how they come. They come in this natural state. So they come in all different shapes and sizes, and they're wood, really thin wood. And so there's another one, and another one, and they have these little ends to them. What you do is you can either use them natural in their natural state, and I do tend to mix them with colors and with the natural state, or you can dye them. And I'll do that on one of these lives. I'll show you how to dye these. But they're called Sola wood flowers, and just another thing that I tinker with, right? Back to the crafts, because it works with stuff like this. So I have this one that I dyed. It's kind of this really pretty fall color. And I played around with it, and I thought that it went really well with these colors on here. And so what I'm gonna do after I take this off, what it will wind up doing is I'm going to take that with some greenery that I had already pre-cut, and I'm going to put the greenery on here like that. I'll try to hold this up for you. So that's how it's going to look. I'm going to have the flower up in the corner with a little bit of greenery to be cute. And then I get this garland like this. I think I get it from Hobby Lobby or maybe Joann's. You can get it pretty much anywhere. And it's really flexible. So I thought that the white and the green would go really well with this. And so I'll just cut off what I think I'll probably wind up using. Just got a wire in there, so it makes it really easy to cut. And I thought this would look much better than using beads. And so what I'll do, I'm going to take you saw the flowers. So with the flowers, and then with that, I'll shorten it, but that's how that's going to look with this. And if I can hold it up, it's got in there, oopsie, with the flower on there and the greenery. It'll look really cute when it's done. But that's all I'm going to show you tonight. I wanted to show you that I finished up, how I finished up from last night, and that it actually worked out well because this is real life. This is what happens in my shop. All right, this is what happens in every crafter's room, is you have an idea of how something's going to go. You get distracted. Maybe it's the dog, maybe it's the kids, maybe it's the husband, maybe it's the doorbell. You get distracted. Something happens to your project, and you have to adapt and either continue on with that one and make it work or start over. It's not a big deal. It just takes some time. And I'm not in any rush. I'll let this dry and then I'll get it off. I'll go back up. I'll print another one. That's the great thing, is that I have unlimited amount of prints that I can use, and we'll just start over. I will show you the finished project maybe tomorrow when it's done. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. This was a wrap. Go out there and craft and embrace your crafting imperfections. Have a good night.